Thank you so much for joining us on the conversation. On the first half, we dealt with situations in Nigeria as the citizens prepare for the gubernatorial elections for tomorrow. Let's now turn our attention to South Africa, where Julius Malema, the leader of the country's economic freedom fighters, EFF, has cautioned law enforcement officials against intimidating participants in their upcoming national shutdown protests on Monday. Malema claims to have received information that the police have been instructed to use excessive force. During a media briefing held at the EFF headquarters in Johannesburg on Wednesday, Malema emphasized that protesting is a fundamental right protected by the Constitution and warned that the EFF members would respond to any heavy-handedness from the authorities.
Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa had warned that disorder and anarchy will not be tolerated by the EFF and other groups taking part in the national shutdown. The EFF has cited two main reasons for the shutdown, including the nation's energy crisis and the resignation of President Ramaphosa. The South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, is also expected to join the protest. The police have issued a statement stating that they will be on high alert for any signs of unrest, that any acts of criminality or property destruction will be dealt with accordingly within the ambit of the law. Now, join us for this important discussion. We have Sello Lediga, Chairperson, Action SA. He joins us from Polokwane in Limpopo province. We also have Mmabatho Mokause. She's a member of the Central Command Team of the EFF. A warm welcome to you both, and thanks for joining us on the conversation.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Now, I'd like to start with you, Mmabatho. In your view, what is the significance of the planned national shutdown in South Africa? And wouldn't this have a negative impact on the country's political and economic landscape? Why is EFF taking this decision?
Thank you very much, and also let me also thank you for inviting the EFF to clarify issues regarding the planned peaceful march which is going to be taking place on March the 20th here in South Africa. We have long planned this peaceful march, like all the marches that the EFF had previously. We are not anticipating any disruptions. The EFF people, membership at large, and the people supporting the economic freedom fighters are generally peaceful people. The march is to demand the end to load shedding. And the march is to demand basic services to the people of South Africa, like water, sanitation, proper housing. And the march is actually to demand employment to the huge number of unemployment people of South Africa. And the march also wants the President Cyril Ramaphosa to resign because his administration demonstrated that he cannot lead the country. We had ongoing load shedding during his administration. We had unemployment rising in South Africa. So we're saying on the 20th, Cyril Ramaphosa must tender his resignations. There's been a lot of events happening in the life of Cyril Ramaphosa's administration. For instance, the Phala saga, where there has been money found in President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm, which is unaccounted for. Dollars, for that matter, while South Africans do not have water, while South Africa do not have sanitation, while South Africa do not even have jobs, and we are suffering under him. There's constant load shedding. Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa is accused of money laundering and kidnapping. The lady who was found at the farm, she was assaulted. Now, we are saying The unions have joined us. Religious organizations have joined us, and all progressive movements in South Africa have joined us. This is indeed a progressive move towards demanding electricity and basic services to the people of South Africa.
Okay, thank you so much, Mmabatho. Now, Sello, can you provide us some context around the current energy crisis in South Africa? We know that President Ramaphosa declared a national state of disaster. There was also the electricity minister that was declared by the president, but yet Mmabatho is saying that the president has not done enough, and also that the EFF is calling for the resignation. So tell us more about the energy crisis and how the government has responded to all of this.
Yeah, thank you very much. By the way, next year we're going to be having a general election in South Africa. And I must say, President Cyril Ramaphosa and the African National Congress have failed the people of South Africa in a manner that is unthinkable. More than 10 years ago, in fact, yeah, more than that, 15 years ago, the ANC was warned about the possible crisis that would emanate if it did not build the infrastructure. But the party decided to govern and not take into account what was said, you know. So, to be honest, every South African is very angry with the NC government for the load shedding. In fact, it's a new term that this country has come to terms with. You know. Now, I think what has happened is that there is no doubt that the government is failing in terms of providing energy to all its citizens. And the EFF, as an opposition party, is taking advantage of this, in particular because, in my view, next year there will be an election. And I think most people, especially the middle class, will not be able to vote for a party that disrupts their life the way the ANC has done so. You know. So, EFF aside, the people of South Africa are hurtful with the ANC and its failure to provide it. But the EFF is a political party, and you must give it to the red beret, you know. One thing they know is exceptional PR, you know, that takes them to the level where everybody has to listen to them. It does not make sense to me to say people must go on a one-day shutdown and ask for a president of a country to resign. I mean, that will never happen, you know. It's obvious that it is just taking the political temperature to the highest level with the hope that the people of South Africa will fall behind the EFF and support them in this endeavor. But I must indicate that the EFF is a parliamentary party, which means it has the privilege of a party that has all the rights to be in parliament. What they're doing now is clever politicking in terms of engaging in extra parliamentary activity and trying to mobilize as many people as possible, including those that are not in their natural, you know, support base. So my view is that, and I must give them credit. Everybody's talking about this shutdown, but I don't think the EFF has the capacity to mobilize the people of South Africa to go out in their numbers. What for? As we all know, people need things that really affect them in a manner that they feel they will benefit. You know, there's no way that the EFF can say to the people of South Africa, if you remove Ramaphosa, this is what we will do to make sure that you have electricity in your home. So that is just not possible. But for me, it is just a normal politicking in South Africa, and the EFF has thrust itself center stage in order to have the attention that it requires.
Thank you, Sello. I'd like Mmabatho to respond to this. Sello said EFF doesn't have the capacity to pull those numbers and shut down the entire country at the same time. Now, I see that EFF is not doing this alone. You said they're doing this with like-minded organizations and progressives. For example, the South African Federation of Trade Unions, the collaborative efforts being made between the two organizations. Also, President Cyril Ramaphosa issued a stern warning to the EFF and other organizations involved in the planned national shutdown, and that disorder and anarchy will not be tolerated. Are you confident that Monday's planned protest will pass without incident? And how do you respond to Sello's statement on the EFF?
Well, the EFF is a protest movement, and we are on the side of the people. We are championing the plight of the people. We need to be on the forefront of the struggles of South Africans, Africans, and the world. Electricity, water, housing, and sanitation are the basic services that Africans need, Black people in particular. Now, generations to come are going to blame us if we are leaving the status quo as it is. When people of South Africa are having ongoing power cuts where they can't even buy groceries that needs to be refrigerated for about 2 days, and we leave the status quo as it is. We've got capacity as the EFF. We have planned marches previously, and we have planned peaceful marches where there was not even incidents of bloodshed in South Africa. In fact, we need to be commended as the EFF, as a political party, that none of these political parties can actually plan marches and it becomes successful like the EFF. So in all 4,468 wards of South Africa, there's going to be shut down, irrespective of the intimidation from the sitting government, irrespective of other political parties feeling that we are taking advantage of the situation of load shedding. Look, we are on the side of the people. Anything that affects people, we are going to carry it as the EFF and make it our business. We are here for the people. So there's going to be shutdown, and we've got capacity with or without organizations that are threatening not to join us.
Okay, Sello, I want your response there because, yes, you said taking advantage and politicking is being successful by the EFF, but it seems the president is also talking tough, and he talked about making sure that this does not turn into chaos. Now, you also said that you do not think that this might be a large scale, but how do you think the law enforcement officials would respond to this particular national shutdown?
2 years ago, we had an unfortunate situation in this country whereby there was some kind of insurrection that manifested itself in Gauteng and in KwaZulu-Natal under Cyril Ramaphosa. So I think in the ANC quarters, there is a fear that whatever the EFF is mobilizing now might lead, to what happened 2 years ago. So I think it's a question of saying, hey, let's just be careful. I do not see a lot of violence taking place on Monday. And I will agree with the EFF leader that in the past, the marches have been generally peaceful. The only difference is that they've never done something called a national shutdown. What is a national shutdown? We're basically saying we're shutting down the economy. And I think that is new, and that should worry the government and a lot of people and business and all that, But I don't see a lot of violence taking place. But coming to the issue of capacity, I still insist, and you can call me back after the shutdown. You'll realize that you're talking about SAFTU, which is just one of the smallest, federations here. The major organizations that would make this thing successful have declined the EFF's invitation to participate. If you don't get the taxi industry, if you don't get the big unions, and if you offend people by even saying children must not go to school, they're not likely to get much support. Because ordinary people, why would they be wanting for Cyril Ramaphosa to be moved in on one day, So I think the only much violence, well, the state will be more alert than in the past. But I can assure you, a political party will not be able to mobilize people on a scale that the EFF is trying to do. That is just being politically ambitious. But look, from the time they got into parliament 10 years ago, they shook the tree, in Parliament and came with things that were never practiced before. But I don't see this as going. I think the publicity that this thing is getting is far greater than the reality that we're going to see on Monday.
Grievances of the people, attracting more people for this national shutdown. I mean, you talk about businesses being floored by the energy crisis. People are actually feeling the brunt of the energy crisis. So wouldn't this propel people, spur them to actually join in this national shutdown, even if they're not members of the EFF?
I mean, and it's just one day.
Is it to me?
Yes, it's just
yes,
one
to
day.
You.
Okay. No. You see, I've been a unionist, If you want to mobilize people, there is a way of doing it if you want a national shutdown or something this big, The EFF is not necessarily a very popular party in South Africa, by the way, because most people think that they are disrespectful, they think that they are radical, so you don't have an average South African supporting the EFF. That is why its support base is just about 10%. So it is very unlikely that people will be mobilized to rise up against the state on the basis of this electricity shortage. People would need a credible organization that knows that it will not be that much, but they would have made their mark just in terms of getting the publicity. And I can assure you, the people have suffered for a long time with this. The biggest unions like COSATU and others, are not going to be involved in this thing because they are ANC supporting structures that would not take a stand against it. So the EFF's reach is really a limited one, and ordinary people, and I can assure you, on Tuesday or Wednesday, you can have this conversation. You will realize that it will not be as big as you think.
And if you can, in less than a minute, I would appreciate. Critics of the EFF say the methods are a bit extreme, and like you heard Sello there, you don't have a broad following across the entire Republic of South Africa. So you also have parliamentary privilege. There are lots of members of the EFF in the South African Parliament. So how do you see the EFF's role in the broader political landscape of South Africa, and what impact do you expect your party to have in the country's future political discourse?
The EFF existent. We are existing in all 9 provinces of South Africa, in all 4,468 wards of South Africa, which actually feeds to each and every town of South Africa. So the march is going to be successful. We've got more than 1.5 registered members of the EFF throughout these wards. And we are contesting political power come 2024. It is history that an organization, political formation with less than 10 years can actually have 44 seats in the National Assembly of a particular country and 9 seats of each and every province in the National Council of Provinces. So we are going to grow. We're contesting this election with a view that we're taking power come 2024 and we're ushering in economic freedom fighters government come 2024.
All right, thank you so much, Mmabatho. I'm sure that your confidence leaves much to be admired by some people. Thank you so much. And of course, Sello, we wait on Monday to see if your predictions are actually true. Tuesday, rather, to see if your predictions are true. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.